So in this slightly shorter lecture, we'll ask two questions. First, what happens to the gain of the common emitter amplifier if the signal source is not ideal? And second, what happens to the amplifier when we connect a load at the output of the amplifier? Let's start with the first one. This is the circuit we have looked at, and we have derived the gain of this VO over Vs equal to minus Gm Rc, where Gm is beta by R pi. Otherwise, I am replacing VC with VO, the O for output, which is the more common nomenclature. So now suppose the input source Vs is not ideal, then it has a resistance Rs in series with it. And then because of this Rs, what is the voltage gain? So here is the circuit. We replace the transistor with its small signal circuit and we include Rs, and then the question we are asking is how much is VO over Vs. But before we even start that, let us redraw this circuit. This is looking unnecessarily complicated. So let's redraw it, and you can check that this is the same circuit. It looks much neater and nicer and simpler. So R1, R2, R pi are in parallel, beta IB, RC. IB is the current in R pi, and what we have done is we have added Rs and we are asking the question how much is VO over Vs. And we have already found VO over VB to be minus Gm Rc. Now there are two ways of doing this. One is to solve the circuit all over again, which itself is not very difficult. But the other thing to do is to use Thevenin's theorem, because that will give us some broader methods of solving such circuits. Every time we don't have to keep resolving when we add Rs. So let's use Thevenin's theorem. And to start using it, we'll define two important quantities that characterize an amplifier. They are called the input resistance and the output resistance of the amplifier. And the definitions of the input and output resistances Rin and Rout are that they are the Thevenin's resistances looking into the input and output terminals respectively of the small signal circuit of the amplifier. So Rin is the Thevenin's resistance looking into the input terminals. Rout is the Thevenin's resistance looking into the output terminals. Now remember that this is defined, you recall that Thevenin's theorem is applicable only to linear circuits. So these resistance are defined only for the small signal circuit of the amplifier, because a small signal circuit is a linear circuit. Often you would find that Rin and Rout are indicated. So let's go back here. So often you will see that Rin will be written here. There will be an Rin and an arrow pointing to the amplifier inputs. The implication always is that it is the resistance of the small signal circuit. For this circuit as it is, given that the transistor is a nonlinear element, a Thevenin's resistance is not defined. It is defined only for the small signal circuit. Okay, so if you look at this circuit, Rin and Rout are actually very simple. So there is no need to even derive them. So Rin is simply R1 parallel R2 parallel R pi. So I have written that here. Rout is Rc. That is not as obvious. But if you think about Thevenin's theorem, you will find that you will get it in a couple of minutes if you think about it. So Rout is actually Rc for this circuit. So we found the input and output resistances. Okay, now we say, well, so we replace, so this is the inside this dashed box is the amplifier, and we replace all the resistances R1, R2, R pi by simply Rin. This we are leaving as it is because we are not doing anything. By the way, on the side, when we, and again you may remember from Thevenin's theorem discussions last semester, we applied Thevenin's theorem here and we replace everything by Rin. We've lost IB. We don't know where IB is, but there is an IB here. So this circuit really is not a not a good circuit to draw. And I want to caution you that although I have drawn it, this is not a good thing to do because there is no IB in this circuit. Given that, we are really not worried about all this right now. Our question is why we added an RS. We want to see what is the voltage gain VO by Vs. So now it is actually very straightforward. So first we say, well, VB by voltage division is equal to R in by Rin plus Rs into Vs. We already know that VO over VB is minus GMRC. So VO over Vs we can write as VO over VB into VB by Vs. VO over VB is minus GMRC. VB over Vs is all this. So we get the total gain as VO over Vs equal to minus GMRC into Rin by Rs plus Rin. So this is the answer to our question. Now let's think about the implications of this gain expression. In our circuit, the input resistance, if you calculate R1 parallel, R2 parallel, R pi, it comes out to about 2.3 kilo ohms. Now suppose we really actually don't know how much RS is. It varies widely, as we had discussed briefly. Let us assume for the sake of argument that RS is 10 kilo ohms. Then we substitute for Rin and Rs here and we find that VO over Vs is minus GMRC into 0.19. What this means is that the input signal has become 0.19 of its original value by the time it reaches the input of the amplifier. So here, this is Vs. By the time it reaches here, so VB is 0.19 times Vs. Our goal was to amplify Vs. The whole purpose of this whole circuit is at VO we'll get an amplified version of Vs. But before even reaching the amplifier, the signal has become about 20% of its original value. This is of course not good. We don't want attenuation of the signal before even passing through the amplifier. So that is the effect of RS. So this effect is called loading. To be precise, Rin is said to load Vs. And because of Rin, VB becomes small compared to Vs. Yeah, and there's another way of looking at it with RS, but that's okay. So the point is that we want this attenuation to be as small as possible. And in order to do that, and given that usually we have no control over RS, because RS is the source resistance of the signal. Signal is coming from somewhere. We can't really control what the RS is. What we must do is we must make Rin much larger than RS, because if Rin is much larger than RS, then we can ignore the RS and VB will be approximately equal to Vs. For this reason, voltage amplifiers, it is desirable for voltage amplifiers to have a very large input resistance. Alright, this is basically the conclusion of this discussion. Okay, and of course this is a reason why op amps have very large input resistances, few mega ohms to few tera ohms. Note also, and again this is a reminder, we already know this, is that a large input resistance implies a small input current. Therefore, input terminals of good voltage amplifiers draw a very small current. Okay, now let's ask the second question of today's lecture, which is what happens when we connect a load to this amplifier. So again, one must remember that the whole purpose of an amplifier is to amplify a signal, and then the amplified signal will be used to do something else. As the simplest example is an audio signal. So microphone gives an output of some millivolts. You amplify the signal, the output would be fed to a speaker. And similarly, any signal, the output would be used to do something else with the signal, and that something else would be done by another circuit, which will be connected to the output of the amplifier. So the amplifier output always has something connected to it, and that is called a load. And so let's say we connect a load, and let's say the Thevenin's resistance of the load circuit is RL. So this then becomes our circuit with RL. which is realistically what happens in amplifier applications. Now the question we are asking is what happens to this circuit when we add RL to it. Now you can see at least the way we've connected this RL has a DC current flowing through it also. So the connection of RL is going to affect both as well as AC performance of this circuit. So let us start with the effect of RL on the DC circuit. So what we do is we write a KCL at the output node and then solve for VO. So here is a KCL. So you said 12 minus VO by 6 is the current flowing down is equal to the current flowing in RL, VO by RL, plus the current in the transistor, which is IC. For now, we'll assume that IC is a constant, which is true if the transistor stays in the active mode, because then the collector current depends only on the base current. It is beta times the base current, and the base current does not depend on RL at all. So as long as the transistor stays in the active mode, IC can be assumed to be constant. So we solve this equation and we get an expression for VO. So VO is 12 minus IC RC divided by 1 plus RC by RL. Now for our numbers again, IC is 1 milliamp. So this is 1 milliamp, RC is 6 kilo ohms. We get 6. So we'll get 6 divided by 1 plus 6 divided by RL. And let us write the value of VO for different values of RL. So we start with RL equal to infinity, which means that we have not connected any RL at all. And then the denominator is simply 1 because this term is 0. And we get VO equal to 6, which we had got earlier. As we reduce RL from infinity, let us look at a few values. So if RL is 15 kilo ohms, then VO becomes 4.3 volts. If RL becomes 9 kilo ohms, then VO is 3.6 volts. And if RL is 6 kilo ohms, 6 means it is equal to RC, and then this is 1. So 1 plus 1, 2, 6 by 2 is 3 volts. So we get 3 volts. Now this 3 actually, if you think about it, is not correct. The reason is that for our circuit, the emitter voltage was 3.3 volts, and we had, as we had discussed last time, VO has to be at least 3.5 for the transistor to stay in the active mode. So as soon as VO becomes less than 3.5 volts, the transistor will go out of active mode, and then the assumption of a constant IC breaks down, and therefore this equation becomes incorrect, and therefore this 3 volts is not correct. Actually, there are a couple of other ways of looking at this. Assume that this is 3 volts, and we didn't think far enough. But then we say, well, if the VE is 3.3 and VO is 3, that means that the current must flow up in the bipolar transistor. Can that happen? It's an interesting question. So this is an important homework I'm leaving you with, actually, to find or solve for this entire circuit. No longer just VO, no longer just one equation to find VO, but we have to solve the entire circuit for the case where RL is, let us say, 6 ohms or less. So in fact, I would like you to solve it for RL equal to 6 kilo ohms, and then maybe 1 kilo ohm, and then maybe even something as small as 100 ohms or 50 ohms. Just solve this entire circuit and see what you get. It is a very interesting study, and I'm assuming that you've done enough DC analysis before the midterm to be able to solve this circuit. It's good. Alright, for now, I'm not going to spend time in the DC. Our purpose was to recognize or understand that when we connect RL, as the value of RL reduces up to the point that the transistor is in the active mode, VO reduces. And what is the effect of VO reducing? let's say VO has become 3.6 volts. And again, DC VO has become 3.6 volts. VE is 3.3 volts. So again, as we've seen before, this causes the output voltage swing. When the AC signal is applied, the output voltage swing can be only 0.1 volt if the DC VO is 3.6 volts. Therefore, the effect of connecting RL, and as the RL value reduces, is to reduce the output voltage swing. Okay. Okay, how can we remedy this? Can we do something so that the output voltage, the DC output voltage, does not change when a load is connected? Again, the answer is put a large capacitor. So we put a large capacitor between the load and the output voltage. So now what happens is, for DC, the capacitor is an open circuit, and therefore whatever RL is does not affect the DC biasing arrangement of the amplifier. For AC, C is large enough and it will act as a short circuit, and so the signal will pass through the capacitor to the load. All right, now let us, okay, so this is DC. What about AC? So what is the effect of RL on the AC performance? So this is the AC circuit and we've connected an RL here. So how does the connection of RL affect the voltage gain? This is of course easy to see. The voltage gain now is VO by Vs is minus GM into RC parallel RL. Again, this is not the right circuit. Okay, this is so I'm calculating actually not Vs, but I'm calculating VB. So let us just keep it at VB. So then we don't have to worry about the input voltage source RS, which is a separate. We finished discussing that. So as soon as we connect RL, this current beta IB flows through the parallel combination of RC and RL, and therefore the output voltage is beta IB times RC parallel RL, and all that put together we get the final gain as minus GM into RC parallel RL. Earlier the gain was only RC. Now we have something in parallel. The total resistance is of course smaller, and therefore the gain becomes smaller. So RS makes the gain smaller, RL makes the gain smaller. To prevent RS making the gain smaller, we make Rin as large as possible. To prevent RL making the gain smaller, we make RC as small as possible. Again, we don't have any control over RL, so we make RC as small as possible. This is the answer. We'll discuss more about how to make RC small, etc. next time. But before we do that, next lecture we'll discuss the circuit without the emitter bypass capacitor, and we'll look at two cases with the output at the collector and with the output at the emitter. The output at the emitter is an important circuit also, so we'll look at it next time. All right.